Hi, Eclipse family. I'm just over here struggling with my electronics, which is kind of the theme for the retrograde Mercury, so just ignore me there. Guys, I wanted to give a quick introduction for my pick-a-pile reading. This reading is kind of to help you navigate through the energy of this eclipse cycle. It's a lot more than just the eclipses, though. We have a lot going on in the skies, and there's a lot going on in our lives and in our souls, and our minds are probably going to become very overwhelmed in the next several weeks. And I just want to talk about a few things that are happening that is going to really amp up the intensity. And the importance of the intensity is all in order to break us free, break us out of these cycles, break us out of these outgrown and outdated structures in our lives, and kind of clear out the fear in order for us to move forward. So a couple of the things that are happening this week alone, we have the Sun entering Gemini, joining up with Mercury and Venus, which has already been there. We also have Mercury, which is going to start its retrograde process through Gemini, ironically at the same degrees that Venus was retrograde in Gemini about a year ago, last spring into summer. And this retrograde is making a square to Neptune, so it's a little extra as far as the lack of clarity. There's going to be a lot of mixed messages, misunderstandings. And the thing is, we have to learn, right? We have to learn to seek the truth within ourselves. So the data, the research, the leaders, if you look at what we're going through collectively, it's not all going to make sense. And this is already playing out, and probably nothing that I really have to explain to you. But the truth is that on top of this, we also have Saturn going retrograde. And I always say, and maybe it's because I'm Saturn ruled, but when Saturn goes retrograde, you feel it. I don't care who you are, you feel it. We always complain that Saturn, he's kind of the boring planet. He keeps it all together, makes sure we're doing the right things, and, teaches us some really hard lessons when we're not. But do you know that feeling? Many of you have lost a parent or, a strong figure in your life. There's that whole scary period of having to land on your own 2 feet without somebody there to catch you, there to teach you the lessons. And that's kind of what it feels like when Saturn goes retrograde. We feel a little bit out of bounds. And ironically enough, we have a lot of planets that are moving in and out of bounds. Mars is in Cancer, which is going to really amp up this eclipse energy, because our motivation, our impulse, our instincts are really deeply rooted in these moons. And everything is moving to this mutable energy. So there is a promise for big changes to occur. And in order to make those changes, either the universe is going to come along in these eclipses and make them for us, which may not be so pleasant, or we're slowly but surely in the next couple of months going to get the courage to make the changes ourselves. Is it going to be a smooth process? Probably not. We're going to have a chance to review these things. And I don't think, with Saturn being retrograde, it's not about the mastery. It's not about the perfection of those things. And we have to start to let those things go. We have to let go of the need for the facts and the numbers and the data. We just have to learn to make decisions from the heart. And I think all of this energy is going to culminate in Leo season, which is kind of the heart of 2021. So I know it's an intense time. I know there's a lot of changes and probably things happening simultaneously, changes within your career, changes within your family life, changes in relationships. And for a lot of us, this could really start to culminate into a very overwhelming feeling. Even if things are moving in the direction we had hoped for, or even if really beautiful things are happening. And believe me when I tell you, Jupiter in Pisces is a taste of the really sweet stuff. but it could also be an overindulgence and an over-idealization, which was another theme of that Venus retrograde last spring and summer. Now, if you had things going on relationship-wise, finance-wise, you might learn or gain a little bit more clarity, because the things we are getting clarity on are things of the past. It's not necessarily going to guide us into the next moves, but we sure are going to close up some of those old themes and understand them from a different perspective. So that's one of the big things that I want you to take a look at, is where you were last spring and summer. Now we were kind of all on lockdowns, on hold, waiting bated breath, and there was this idealization that everything was going to be okay, right? If we just look at it in terms of COVID, I think it was like 15 days to stop the spread, and here we are a year later, and we're just starting to open up. And I think that's a really good way to kind of look at how Neptune squared can affect us. There's this idealization that things are going to happen, you know, there'll be breakthroughs, and there will be. But it's not necessarily going to go the way we thought it was going to go. And it's a really good time to exercise your ability to stay flexible. When we are in mutable energy is represented by the planets and the signs that are involved in the changing of the seasons. So these are the energies that allow changes to happen. It's Virgo and Pisces and Sag and Gemini, and these are where we can adjust our views. So I'm telling a lot of my people that from mid-May, you may think things are going to go this way, or you may have this certain set of beliefs, but by the end of July, that story is probably going to look a lot different. It's going to be a lot easier for you if you keep a somewhat easy schedule. Maybe don't plan such tightly packed things, you know. It's probably better to spend some time in the next couple of months, especially with the Mercury retrograde, cleaning house a little, okay? Cleaning up the paperwork, doing the things of the past that you needed to close up. And it's a really beneficial time to close up all the undone work, especially with Saturn retrograde. When all planets move back forward in October and November, we're going to get a better idea of where this was all going. And we're in some sort of a preparation process that we're very unaware of. We're very unaware of what's coming next. There could be miracles and there could be breakdowns, but either way, these things are for our greater good. We are really moving into a new set, a shift in our priorities, and a shift in our finances. There's no question that our money and our values are changing with Uranus in Taurus. And because Saturn makes this square to Uranus all year round, you can expect 2021 to be the year that we, it's kind of the catalyst for Uranus and Taurus, you know? And that's very true of that Taurus energy. It takes a while, you know? Taurus is a bull. It takes a while to get it moving, but once you start the momentum, there's really no stopping it. And 2021 is starting the momentum. We have some pretty cool themes coming up for the next couple of years. We've got some pretty serious themes coming up for the next couple of years as well. We have the United States Pluto return, and there's a lot of instability. And what the universe does, whether you realize it or not, is he's always preparing us. So in some ways, he's setting the stage for our survival through some of these big, you know, more collective-like situations that are going to be going on soon. So believe it or not, I just want to tell you guys that no matter how rough things get, it's actually for our greater good. Now, I do have some clients and some personal friends that are going through some really rough stuff right now, and that's what that Saturn retrograde is likely to feel like. And it could show up in your life in the form of one big brick wall. You thought something was going to go really good, and then it didn't. And so it's really good, again, to check your expectations and to navigate your way through situations with humility and with grace. This is the ultimate energy of the student. We are all students here. We're going to learn, and I think we could allow ourselves to be in a state of awe with how the universe kind of prepares and protects us. And if we can allow ourselves to have faith that even the roadblocks are blessings, then we'll move through this energy with a whole different perspective, and things will go so much smoother. Now, obviously, there's certain things in life that's kind of harder to take that vantage point with, you know. Some things we really don't want to give up. Some things we really don't want to lose. And our stability is certainly one of them. And those are the areas in your life where you have to look at where that really comes from. If you're looking for the things from external circumstances or, you know, outward energies, if you're depending on other people, job offers, you know, other things to happen in order for your life to move forward, the universe is probably going to show you how strong you are and how capable you are of going it alone. Because everything's retrograde, we're going to do things a little bit backwards. And because we're in Gemini season, there's probably going to be a lot of choices that we have to make, this or that. And it's important to know that two things can exist. And also I want to point out with Saturn in Aquarius and what I've been saying about these vaccinations that we're seeing and stuff like that, you know, I don't think it's so much the idea that the vaccine is good or bad. I think what we're coming to terms with in this lifetime is the idea that this and that is right, and that it's not really a one-size-fits-all thing. And because the South Node is in Sag, we're all kind of like feeling like we know what's right. And the truth is, what's right for us may not be right for the next person. And we learned a lot of lessons with that, with the nodes in Cancer and Capricorn, about our own personal authority. And we're going to learn a lot more lessons if we try to continue to push our ideas and our opinions on others. You know, it's important to stand in your integrity and your authenticity, but it's also important to let others stand in theirs. Another theme is our ability to rescue people, which makes us enablers. I'm seeing this come out a lot in my readings. I'm seeing this a lot in close personal friends' lives. And the fact is, we can't save anybody from themselves. A lot of times we try to soften the blows, and in the softening of the blows, people kind of miss out on the opportunity to get the lesson in the first place. And we're kind of extending the suffering. We're kind of delaying the end of that karmic cycle, and we're inhibiting that person's growth. So it's important, while we're in all of this mutable energy, to let people be who they are and let people do what they're going to do, and just pay attention to yourself, your family, your close circle. It's really important that we can do this and kind of remove ourselves from other people's actions. Again, I'm going to go back to all of these planets that are out of bounds, especially at the time of this Sagittarius lunar eclipse. Mars, Venus, and the Sun, and I do believe the Moon is awfully close to being out of bounds as well. So you can expect some people to exhibit some pretty extreme behavior. And the truth is, we're all on this path of destiny. We're all learning our lessons. We're all going through the things that we're supposed to do. We're all processing through our soul contracts. And the truth is, you can't save people. So I want all of us to make a promise to really focus on self right now. And that doesn't mean that we can't love people. It doesn't mean that we can't be there for them, but we simply do not have control of their choices. Okay? Take that stress off yourself, because you got big things going on too. And we have to learn how to navigate by trusting ourselves, even in the lack of information, even if both sides of the story are true and correct. We still have to know how to process and make our way through these energies. So guys, there's 3 piles in front of you. There'll be a picture at the end of this video. The first pile, I believe, is a green stone. Second pile is my rose quartz. And the second one is a blue stone. These are kind of representing the auras, which I'll explain in the reading. Pick by stone, pick by number, just pick one, read them all, whatever feels right to you. And, you know, if it resonates, it does. If it doesn't, I'm sure there's still a little nugget of wisdom in there that isn't so bad to hear as well. Guys, I really do hope it's an amazing eclipse season. I hope that the very best things come from this energy for you. I will be back shortly, hopefully getting a head start on those June videos so that I could get at least some of them out on time. I know it'll be a rare occurrence. And again, a reminder that it's retrograde Mercury, so who knows what's going to happen. But I will be seeing you soon with those videos. So don't forget to like and subscribe, guys, and take care. Love you so much. See you soon. Bye. Hello, pile number one. This reading, this eclipse season, I should say, is really ushering in a new portal for you. Now, you chose pile number one, which was this beautiful green quartz, which I often associate with my heart chakra. And when I picked it, and when I picked these cards, I kind of did get a sense of this heart opening, which means you are in an element, you are in a period, you are in a portal of expansion to be expected. We have Jupiter in Pisces making a square to this lunar eclipse in Sag, and I'm laughing at how we have, you know, two horses here, which is Sagittarius energy. We have a 33 and a 33. These are very divine numbers. We have a ninth house. We have a 9 of fire, both numbers representing Sagittarius energy. And then over here we have Uranus with the number 9. Again, 9 being ninth house Sagittarius. And I'm also drawn to this green orb here, which is kind of an indication of this heart opening. We have all this beautiful green tinted water drawing me to a heart opening as well. And I think that you are in a real element of expansion. Now, the thing about all of this energy happening in the next couple of months, and I've been telling everybody, like, things can get pretty weird. There's things that are going to happen that you're not expecting. There's things that are going to happen that really push you out of your comfort zone. Saturn retrograde, it's like a guarantee that the universe is going to test you, test your faith, test your determination. Saturn's going to say, well, let's see how hard you're willing to work for this. Because there's no doubt in my mind that there is work involved. Now, it does seem to be very internal processes that we're going through, which is a lot about that ninth house. Ninth house can be an interesting place because it is where we want to expand. It's where we want to increase our knowledge. You know, it represents like going off to school, or it represents like the idea of philosophy and increasing your faith. Ninth house being the house of religion, the house of, you know, manifestation as well. And because we have this horse spirit here, freedom is yours. Now, a 33 is a very divine number to me, breaking down to a 6, which is also a very divine number, and oftentimes boils down to love. Boils down to what is in our hearts. And I feel like there's a part of you that wants your heart to be set free. Freedom is yours, and the idea of freedom is kind of different for each of us. It could represent financial freedom. It could represent independence. For some people, it could represent getting out of, uncomfortable relationships or situations in which you've outgrown. And it's a 5-year, and it's, we're still in a 5-month as these eclipses start. As I've been saying, this is a change that ultimately brings freedom. Now, for most of us, there's parts of it that's probably going to scare the hell out of us. Sun moves into Gemini. These eclipses take place in Gemini in June. And we are full of mutable energy. And when we learn to navigate our minds, we could pretty much master anything, because navigating our mind is harder than we think. If you've ever studied the whole law of attraction thing, or like even affirmations, like there's a saying something over and over until you believe it, or just pretending like it's already happened. And that's great. That's great. That's a step in the right direction. And we could practice that all day long, and I'm sure that we'll see some progress in our lives. But the real magic happens when you truly believe it. It's not just about saying it. It's not just about the routines. Jupiter in Pisces is about the belief. Truly allowing yourself to believe, which means we allow the fears and the doubts to dissolve. And ultimately, I think that what you are seeking freedom from is this 9 of Fire. And 9 of Fires are situations in which we keep ourselves closed. Oftentimes because of our past, because of our situations, because of our lack of faith, we find ourselves in this protection mode. We could say all day long, like, I want to experience real love. I want to find that passionate career. I want to do something that really fulfills me. And then the universe kind of sets things in your path. It gives you some pretty crazy suggestions. You're like, oh no, I could never do that. Oh no, I'm not good enough for that. You could be somebody who says, oh, I just really want that healthy and fulfilling relationship. And then when it shows up at your door, you're like, yeah, but I don't like this and I don't like that. And it could become picky. It could become stuck in its ways, because that's a trick of the Sagittarius energy. In some ways, it is beautiful and expansive, and life is an adventure. And in some ways, you can get stuck in some really negative thought processes and beliefs, which really ultimately leads to you holding yourself back. Eclipses are coming to break you free of these cycles. And I feel like over here is kind of the stuff that's getting broken up with this lunar eclipse in Sag, and then we step into this beautiful Gemini solar eclipse energy, which is kind of the ending and the what's next. And so I look under this freedom is yours, and we have this 2 of Wands, and we have this High Priestess energy. So we have a 2 and a 2. And 2s talk to me about choices. We also have the Balance of Scales here. And I think there's some choices. The universe is kind of leading you in some pretty different directions. And like I said, we're coming up on these tests. So the universe is like, well, how much do you want to change your life? Are you brave enough to take the opportunities that are set in front of you? And I promise you, the people in this reading, the people listening, the people that chose this particular stone, these are things you've been asking for a long time. There are cycles in your life that you've wanted to end for a long time, but they're so deeply ingrained in us. It's not like stopping a bad habit or something. Like, this is a deep psychological subconscious energy, and that's what happens when Jupiter moves into Pisces. This is 12th house. He's in the house that is hosting Neptune. And we may be navigating through some situations that aren't very clear. And so we have a choice. We have a choice to look at the way in which we're going to believe these situations. And the Nine of Fire is going to be like this constant reminder of all the bad choices you made before. Now, I say bad choices even though there's literally no such thing as a bad choice. There's no bad choice because you're just choosing what your soul wants to learn and experience next. It might come to us in the form of a choice. It might add a lot of stress and anguish over, what avenue we're going to choose. But in all reality, there is no wrong choice. Look, our humanness is stuck in this need to accomplish. Our humanness is like this constant, what are we going to do next? What are we going to experience next? What's the plan? How are we evolving? How are we expanding? We need more money. We need more love. We need more resources. And we kind of get stuck on this need to constantly improve. And Jupiter comes into Pisces, and all of this kind of dissolves, and all of a sudden we are faced with what is inside of us. The deep subconscious stuff. And Pisces is a softer energy, but it's also harder to navigate. There's not a lot of facts. There's not a lot of evidence in front of us, right? But I see this Two of Wands, and I like that this particular card came out because I'm always drawn to the gardens around him. I mean, he's clearly in a beautiful environment. He's in a lush environment. It doesn't look like he is struggling or, there's no abandonment here. It's just sort of, okay, I've had this, I've experienced this, and yet my heart yearns for something more. And I'm drawn to the green and the red in this card, green being the heart chakra, and red kind of illuminating the passion, which is all about where our soul is driving us. And here is your soul, your high priestess. And I love the way that this is all tied to this 9th house faith card, because we have this Two of Wands, which is sort of the asking. Okay, universe, this is what I want to experience next. Now, for a lot of you, maybe this is actual rituals. Maybe this is writing down your intentions, doing those things that really help us. And these are the things that really help us to believe in the magic in the world, whether you're doing them or not. You're probably still going to learn the lessons and gain the insight and attain. It's not like anybody in the world who's had any kind of, abundance does those things. They come to us in our own ways. But I do get a sense that lately, 2020, 2021, things have been pretty crazy. We've had to release a lot of things. We've had to accomplish a lot of self-mastery. We've had to navigate through a lot of rough waters. So here we are in this survival and wondering what is next. And here's the high priestess, meaning the universe heard your request. And when she comes out in a reading, it is always a guarantee that you are being guided towards your heart's desire. And I think this is a reward. We have this Justice card right here in the center, in between this Horse Spirit and the Nine of Fire. And these are your two choices. You could choose the freedom. You could choose the faith. You could choose to understand that the universe is working for you. Or you could choose to look at all of the past experiences and decide that you have to keep yourself tied down to the old beliefs, that it's always going to be the way it's always been. And the question is, do you truly believe that your life can change? Do you truly believe that you could have the healthier relationships, that you could have the passion, that you could have that career? Do you truly believe in the things that you are dreaming of? Because a high priestess is your dreams. It's your subconscious. It's the things that you desire the most. It is the things that your soul is here to experience. It's no coincidence when we are driven towards someone or something. It's never a coincidence, because there's something in that that calls to our hearts, to our souls. And I think this is an indication that these eclipses can be very productive and very rewarding if you are willing to invite the freedom in. Now we have this High Priestess, and you actually pulled 2 cards for this. The one is true love. Your wholeness and safety lie within, not from a partner, but the sovereignty actually leads to the deepest intimacy for you to stop using others. Let me stand on my own feet, dear Lord, and know true love. And I am getting that again with this 2 of Wands. Like I said, he's not in a place of desperation. He's not in a place of neediness. I think this is probably what is left once you've kind of shed some of that darkness that we've been going through for the past couple of months, like that self-doubt. And, you know, this is what happens when you have some real honest conversations and realizations about yourself. And it's not like an insult to say that we use people. Maybe some of you have been in a habit of believing that certain people in certain situations are needed in your life to excel you to the next level, or to keep you safe, or to help you pay the bills, or to keep life dependable. These might be some of those subconscious habits. But when you attach to those things, when you're attached to those beliefs, you tend to gravitate towards what your ego needs. And therefore you gravitate a little farther away from what your soul is calling for you to experience next. And you could choose to do the same thing, to attract the same people, attract the same situation, or be patient enough to wait for what you really truly ask the universe for. And then we have empowerment. When you ask the divine to take over, you get pulled into your own authentic power. It's a force of inner love that wants your wholeness and magnificence. Unfold my true and radiant self, dear Lord. Yeah. That's what's happening here, is that you're starting to listen. You're starting to see the real truth, why it's all gone down this way so far, and what you truly want next. And this is a heart opening, you know. It's not about like finding that person, although there might be a new love coming into your life that kind of forces all of this. What do you want? What do you want to experience? Do you want the kind of love that comes with guarantees? Do you want the kind of love that comes with a nice house and a 401k? You know, the same thing with a job. Do you want the kind of job that guarantees financial stability, or do you want something that feeds your soul? Do you want a partner that feels like an adventure, which is all about this freedom, which is what you are craving? And I see this Justice card, and I see this card number 37 breaking down to a 10, and it's a never-ending story. And this is what the first eclipse in Sag will make you release. Solar eclipses are about endings, and there is something very substantial about this one, because this one changes everything. And the never-ending story is the choices that you make over and over in your life to keep you stuck in the same place. You're getting unstuck. You're getting unstuck whether you like it or not. You could choose the kind of experience it's going to be. And I get the sense that there is something really beautiful coming into your life, and you have a choice to embrace it with open arms or to dictate the way it's going to go and get stuck in the same situations, repeating the same cycles over and over. And the Justice card is just a reminder that the decisions that you make now will be the results that you have in the future. And it's all about the freedom. And there's also a lot about the perfectionism here, which can also be a ninth house kind of thing. The perfectionism in you. Maybe there's some of you that struggle to let yourself experience the kind of love and radical acceptance that you truly deserve. Because the shadow side of the High Priestess is where we could really sabotage ourselves. Where we could really get into the mode of thinking we truly don't deserve this kind of love. We're not good enough. We're not worthy. We don't do enough. We don't have enough to offer. We don't have enough knowledge. Like, we sell ourselves short, and then we end up in relationships wondering why they are coming up short. We end up in job scenarios wondering why this is just not working out. But are you being you? Are you attracting what your soul wants? Or are you attracting what your ego desires? Because the stuff that the universe brings you may not look the way you thought it was going to look. And that's what I mean about the universe being a little bit tricky right now. Guys, Mercury retrograde in Gemini, going over the same spot that Venus was retrograde last summer, making a square to Neptune. There are no guarantees. You have to follow your soul, which means you better know yourself. It also means that you better have faith, because the decisions that you make now have the potential to... I get the feeling that this is something you desperately desire. And the protagonist position directly under this Nine of Fire, which is, you know, where we can block ourselves, we have the Nine of Cups, which is an offer of love. It's a new beginning. Now, usually with my Knights, it's somebody who's already present in your life in some way, although it might be something very new. And right above that, we have card number 43, another 7, overflow, overwhelm, and plenty. And this is allowing yourself, this is the choice to allow yourself to experience something very different. And we've said it 100 times. I've said it 100 times. You've heard it in every spiritual video you've ever listened to. You cannot love something from an empty cup. You can only love somebody as much as you love yourself. And so there has to be an erasing of all of the stuff that you do to keep safe. All of the elements of you that you kind of cloak. You know, the flaws, the silliness. Like, we have to leave all of those worries and anxiety behind. And this is going to be a very different experience for you. And it could feel overwhelming. This could feel very intense. And if you're not in a place of faith, if you're not in a place of believing that you deserve this, you could block it. And here in your outcome card, we have the Four of Swords. And with that, we have the card number 9, Uranus. And this is an indication, okay, at the very least, that you let this play out. I think you'll be doing yourself a huge favor if you could just allow all of this to play out without making predetermined judgments, without, if you're meeting somebody new, if you're getting to know somebody, if you're entertaining new job prospects, I wouldn't make any big decisions, but I would be open to it. And the Four of Swords is a reminder to kind of stay out of your head, because the head is where things can get a little bit tricky. It's where things can get a little bit cloudy. But if we rest, if we meditate, if we tap into that subconscious, if we are self-reflective enough to see where we hold ourselves back, to see how we block the actual manifestations from forming, then there's a promise that there will be breakthroughs, that you will achieve this freedom. But this freedom is achieved by quieting your mind, resting, and allowing, most likely allowing the other people to do the heavy lifting. For some of you, you might be in a relationship, there might be opportunities open to you, and you will struggle to be open to it. You may struggle to take this action. Because like I said, all of this is very internal. And the outcome is very quiet. It's very independent, like there's no other people here. And I think it's important to keep that in mind, that the decisions that you make can't be based on other people's opinions. Like what other people think you should do or say next, or where you should go, or how you should live, or how you should spend your money, or that can't be an integral part of this process. Uranus is a promise of the breakthroughs. And this is a promise of that freedom. And for you, if freedom means opening your heart and experiencing the kind of love, the kind of passion, or the kind of career you never thought was possible, it is possible now. These eclipses are going to make it possible. And the question is, are you going to trust it enough to understand what you're being handed? Because it's time to start trusting yourself. All right, pile number one. It's a beautiful, beautiful reading. I'm going to leave it there. I hope that you guys have a really wonderful, beautiful couple of months going through this process. Reminder to stay grounded, embrace the change. Remember that the energy is mutable, and from day to day, Mars in Cancer, your mood will change, your thought processes will change. You'll see things very differently. And so it's going to be a little bit harder to stay grounded. So don't forget to do these check-ins and check in with self from time to time. All right, guys. Take care. Lots of love. I'll see you soon. Bye. Hello, pile number 2. You chose this beautiful rose quartz. And the rose quartz always talks to me about divine healing of our spirit, of our divinity. And it's also about finding our inner divinity, which I think is a lot about what this reading says. Now you are coming out as this card number 12, the Canary Spirit. Sing your own song, breaking down to a 3, which is all about like your creative self. And 3s to me are always a really magical number. Now that comes out right above this number 3, which is what we can create in our minds, And there's a lot of power there. There's a lot of power within you. And probably for a long time, you haven't really shown these talents. You haven't really expressed yourself. And I think what the universe is trying to get you to do is express yourself, because I think your message is important. And this is about raising your vibration. Now, for some of you, this could just simply be like allowing yourself to be in these creative spaces. Maybe you're working on some creative projects. Maybe you are finally starting to write that book or that poem or that song. Maybe you're getting back into music. And maybe this could be some form of nostalgia. And it's always beautiful the way that the human brain works. And I feel like there's a lot about the alchemy of life, right? Like there's some harsher energies here. There's clearly some things, some people that have left, some disappointments. There's probably been a lot of feeling like the ships aren't coming in. You've been waiting a long time to live this life in a certain way, to have these connections and these experiences. And the truth is, you've been waiting a really long time to be able to be your true self. And over here in your environment, we have the spark, this page of fire. And she is small but mighty, you know, this solar eclipse in Sag, I often say the Sagittarius energy is big, but the page of fire is like the spark that starts it all. And this is very inspirational, and it is also free from baggage. It's telling you to leave the past behind and to move forward into the new possibilities. And I think some of you have been in a mode of having no choice but to dream about the possibilities, because the circumstances, like the current circumstances, were not allowing you to be you. Now here we have this Knight of Wands and we have this Three of Wands, and there's like a lot of waiting. And I feel as though this is probably a person or a project or a dream or something that you held in high regard, something that you probably at one point respected, wanted, and desired. And he seems to be moving away from you in this waiting position. And because we have this Knight of Wands and this Ten of Swords, it feels as though there has definitely been some sort of an ending or a conclusion. And I think what happens is, you know, I was just telling pile number one, this Mercury retrograde going on at the same time that all of these, it's kind of sandwiched in with the eclipses. There's so much planetary action going on. But the truth is, this retrograde Mercury in Gemini is going to force us to kind of look back on some older situations. Now, this Mercury retrograde is covering the same degrees that Venus was retrograde in last summer. Maybe there's something or someone that started last spring and summer, and the story somewhat evolved and maybe not the way that you expected it to be. And I get this Aries card, and it comes right underneath this Knight of Wands, and the first thing that I came up with when I saw this card was selfishness. And this might not even be just one person. This might be a lot of people in your lives, a lot of scenarios of people that you feel have made some pretty selfish decisions. And it probably irritates you. Ten of Swords. It's probably really hard to understand how other people can be so selfish. Because the Canary spirit is that of someone who's just starting to learn to speak up, starting to be themselves and express themselves, which means if you're in a position of finding your inner voice, you've probably been quiet for some time. And there's probably been parts of your life, whether it's relationships, career, finances, whatever it is, where you've been playing it small. Maybe you had to play it small for this person. Maybe this kind of personality was larger than life, and therefore you did that thing where you dim your light. You stay small. You kind of allow them to dictate where this is going. And of course, it's certainly an in and out, on and off situation. And what happens during the eclipses is that you get to look for the real reason behind the whole experience and what did it show you. Now, a lot of times this comes in the form of a communication. A lot of times this is a form of closure. It doesn't necessarily even have to be a conversation. It doesn't necessarily have to be an ex coming back. It could just be a different perspective. Like the not understanding why all of that happened until suddenly it all makes sense. And the truth of the matter is the reason why this person or this thing left was because it was no longer on your vibration. See, this is what happens when you start to raise your vibration, when you start to become you, which means you start to see the value and the talent and the creativity in you. And you start to create this new life because you start to speak up about the things that you want and the things that you need. Now, whether you're having conversations with yourself, whether you're having conversations with spirit, whether you're actually expressing this to other people, nonetheless, it changes your vibration. And sometimes this Knight of Wands energy can feel like a little parasitic because I think that they depended on you not finding your voice. And underneath this Three of Wands, which indicates a part of you that has been waiting a very long time, we have the card of trust. When love is invited to take over, right actions arise at the right time. Allow me, dear divine, to wait patiently until the timing is right. Let me rest in the unknown until a clear path is shown. And the thing that I get from this is a clear path, the answers that you've been waiting for was actually the ending of a very long and karmic cycle that you've been under. And I don't know, most of you know that I'm obsessed with elephants. Love them my whole life. It's been kind of my spirit animal. And it's because I do believe that they represent like the ultimate soul contract. Kind of the magic that comes with that. And we have the elephants here, card number 11, which is a divine card coming right after the 10. And I think there's a part of you that knows that some things had to come to an end so that the new things can come in. And that's what happens when we end karmic cycles with people, with situations. And it could be scary because for some of us, this was all we knew. And we have a Mercury retrograde and a very mutable energy. Everything is mutable. So when you are in mutable energy, and this is like Virgo, Pisces, Sagittarius, and Gemini, you could adapt to situations. You can adapt to not so great situations. All of a sudden, the emptiness, the unfulfilling just feels normal, and we stay there. And then, without a doubt, one day we wake up and we realize that there's just so much more. But we also realize that we're sort of in the consequences of our smaller mind. And this reminds me of like the cleanup process. Understanding, embracing, having the courage to move on, and having the courage to do things differently. And I like this by the book, and I like the fact that the Knight of Wands, I mean, I don't always hate the Knight of Wands. I don't hate this Knight of Wands, but I just feel like this was an irresponsible, non-dependable kind of energy. And this kind of energy comes along when you allow it. When you don't speak up, when you don't set those boundaries. And by the book is all about the karmic patterns and what happens when you set the correct boundaries. Because you know how important your vibration and your spirit is. And you can't go on in this energy. Which means the lunar eclipse will certainly bring a finality and an ending to this Knight of Wands, impulsive. Maybe this is where you just fall in love too quickly and you become kind of meshed into the other person's personality, meshed into their life without realizing that yours is, somewhat unimportant. And I do believe that you start to realize the value of the slowness, of the steadiness. Also an indication here with by the book that you have support, that you are supported, and a reminder that you are not alone. And there are times here, when we're in this 10 of Swords, where we feel very isolated and we can feel very alone. We can get stuck in a place of fear. Like if this happened before, most likely it will happen again. But that's a good place to be because it means that you have to face the bad habits. You have to face the situations that you create on your own. You have to be honest about it so that you can change it. And here we have this Page of Fire, the spark, the thing that comes in during this eclipse season and sparks your interest to step away from this 10 of Swords and move on. But this is in the protagonist position. The 6 of Wands tells me that it might be a little bit hard and you might need some help. You might need some guidance in order to move you out of this energy. And I also think the universe is kind of waiting for you to allow yourself to move to more, like if you look, they're moving to calmer waters. And for some reason, I'm picking up on you moving towards more receptivity, meaning more emotional availability. And for some of you, you might have made a bad habit out of mistaking sexual intimacy and sexual situations, or even like high-paying jobs or jobs that brought you a lot of attention or notoriety. And I feel like the universe is guiding you towards something that's a little bit more what you truly want to experience. It's moving you to more of an emotional depth. It also tells me that you're going to probably feel the need to play it safe here. Because of the bad experiences, there might be like a list of demands that other people have to meet in order to make you feel safe enough to open up. And the universe is probably going to show you something very different, because underneath we have the card number 28, yet again a number 10, the hollow bone, teachability. And this is all about humility. So the protagonist position is the humility. And it takes courage to sing your own song, right? It takes courage to be yourself. It takes courage to like put yourself out there. But you're not happy here. And there's this spark, this thing that you really want to do. And the universe is saying, clean it out. Let the winds, let the change blow through you. Allow others to show you who they truly are and believe them. Because we can have a way of turning our backs to the red flags, you know, kind of ignoring all of the warning signs. And here we have this trust. And the whole thing is, are you trusting yourself? Are you trusting the universe? Are you trusting that you can and will have the things that are truly on your vibration? Because it's not about changing your vibration in order to be with others. It's about being solid in your vibration and allowing others to meet you there. For some of you, this journey is going to involve humility, which means you may not understand what you're doing. This may not come very naturally to you. There might be things that trigger you, you know, because it comes in a little bit differently than all of the other things have come in. I don't know why I'm brought to this Sex and the City, and if any of you have watched Sex and the City, I know it's so old. But it was when Carrie first started dating Aiden, and she went on like 10 dates with him, and not one time did he try to sleep with her. And she was really like out of her element, out of her comfort zone, and she didn't understand because it was so different than the other experiences that she had had. And so there were these fears. There was like this, does he not want me? Does he not like me? Maybe he's not interested. And you don't want to waste this page of fire in those negative thought processes. So you have to clean them out, and you have to allow yourself to be clean and just learn. It's like you set the boundaries, you allow them, and you allow things to kind of grow a little bit slower, just a little bit steadier. Because again, the rose quartz is about healing. And the outcome we have here is the Page of Pentacles, and right underneath that, card number 49, Jupiter return benefits. And that's card number 4. And we have this 4 here, and we have this 4 here, and it really is about your inner stability. And if you're willing to allow a more traditional, more respectful, valuable relationship or job to come along, and the universe wants you to be yourself. It's not about adapting to them. It's about believing that you deserve something that meets you in your vibration. and being brave enough to let it grow and create a life of its own. Because I think if you try to cling to something, or you try to make it something more than it is, or you like kind of put that label on it, you try to dictate how it's going to go, or you listen to 100 million tarot readings and you're looking up their astrology and you're like, will this work? Will this work? And allow yourself to have the experience, because whether it works out or not, what you have is a closure of the old ways of doing it and inviting the new ways in. And in that way, whether that relationship or that thing works out, what you will gain nonetheless, regardless of the outcome, is that dependence, that independence, that ability to believe in yourself, and that ability to trust. For some of you, you're walking away from like relationships altogether for a little while, and probably focusing on some passion projects, or getting your finances together, or looking for a new job that suits you better. I see that with the Page of Pentacles. For others of you, these are cycles where you've, like I said, relied more on like the physical attraction realm of things. And you're stepping into this new way of understanding, there's more. It's about how loyal a person is. It's about how truthful, how dedicated they are. And it's somebody that matches you. And when I talk about these karmic patterns, when I talk about the karmic cycles ending, the karmic relationship ending, and Jupiter return benefits is a promise that the next karmic thing is going to come in. The next soulmate, the next job, the next purpose in your life will come in. And we have this humility card here because you're going to have to let the universe show you how this is going to play out. You're going to have to relinquish a little bit of the control, and you're going to have to kind of go with the flow of what the universe is bringing you. And it's okay to be curious, but it's better to take it slow. Embrace the new beginnings without a whole lot of expectations. But it is a promise that there's a future investment here, whether it's you or someone else wanting to invest in you in some way, love, work, whatever it is, there's a planting of the seed. So the new things are coming. But you have to be brave enough to leave all this old stuff behind and stand in your spirit and express yourself and say the things that you should say and do and value yourself. When I look at this card number 12, I'm just so absolutely drawn to the beautiful, vibrant colors. And I think this is you allowing the world, your new significant others, the people in your life to see just how vibrant you are. Absolutely beautiful reading, guys. I love you so much. I'm going to leave it there. I will be back soon for the June readings, but until then, take care. Bye, guys. Hello, pile number 3. Well, I didn't expect to get through this pick-a-pile reading without there being an emphasis on the financial front. And this reading is very much about that arena. Now, I say financial because I see a lot of pentacles and I see a lot of money and I see a lot of issues surrounding your stability. Oftentimes our stability in our eyes, in this human 3D material consumerism kind of world, it's about the finances. And I think we put a lot of our worth in the things that we have, in the things that we've created, the things that we have maintained. And I think a lot of 2021 is about breaking those cycles and about a shifting in our priorities. Now you're coming out as a squirrel spirit, which is card number 57, breaking down to a 3, and it says, believe in yourself. I love squirrels, guys. I absolutely adore them. And one of my favorite things is their ability to kind of gather, kind of prepare for the long winters. And it's kind of their entire existence involves like the gathering and the storing of the food, of the stability, their means to keep going. And I think that for some of you, there might be a real emphasis on the work that you've done, the experiences that you've had, the wisdom that you've gained and stored, because you are ready for the next phase. And because you're in the squirrel spirit, there's probably a certain level of abundance or security that you feel like you need to reach in order to embrace this new thing. So maybe some of you are saving up to buy a house. Maybe some of you are going through, the process of kind of a bigger purchase. Maybe some of you are working towards starting your own entrepreneurial, destination, because I see a lot of this reading is all about moving into our own independence, breaking cycles of, working for other people, being a slave to like the corporate world in a lot of ways. And your environment is that of an Ace of Earth. So the opportunities are ripe, they're there. And it's a whole different form of stability. It's a whole different form of abundance, but abundance nonetheless. And I think it's important for you to know as you're going through this transition that the universe is still providing and that you are okay. That whatever changes that you go through, whatever adjustments that are being made, maybe some things are ending, there's a loss, there's a need to step out of one thing, maybe leave one full-time safe job and start your own endeavor. And this isn't short on relationships either. Maybe you're moving out of the safety of a marriage and wondering if you have enough, if you've prepared enough to make it on your own so that you can make those changes in your life towards your future. Because ultimately this reading is all about your destiny. Last card here, we have the yacht, the card of destiny. And I think the universe is pushing you a little this month, and I see it causing you to have to become a little bit raw. Now I say that because we have this Three of Swords here, and I actually love this card because it's a purification. And it's the acknowledgement of the fear. And I always say that my Three of Swords is kind of the inevitable, right? Look, life is never going to be easy. It's never like everything isn't gonna just work out. Our entire existence here, suffering is a part of it. The losses, the heartbreaks, the disappointments, those are really important things. Those are important things that happen to us to kind of shape us into the people we are becoming. And if it weren't for those, circumstances, those mishaps in the past, those disappointments, we wouldn't be able to embrace this Ace of Wands. In other words, there are things that have to die and end so that the new things can come in. And most likely the things that are leaving weren't that great to begin with. And the universe kind of washes it away. It's kind of like the purification, the cleaning of a wound, the healing. And I think we've all been a process of healing from the loss. And right underneath this card, we have card number 38, the earth element, stability. And there's a lot about being stubborn, being too fixated on the actual foundation. And the thing about that is we're moving into such a mutable time between the eclipses, retrograde, and Mercury retrograde in Gemini, which is the same spot that Venus was retrograde in last spring. And the truth of the matter is that our ideas, our priorities are in flux. And we can look at that a couple different ways. We can look at the past mistakes and we could say, we better play it safe, you know? Maybe you've looked at the market trends. Maybe you've looked at the housing market. Maybe you're looking at this whole inflation thing and you're realizing it's a little bit of a time to pull back. Might be time to play it safe so that you can spare yourself more of this. But when you do that, when you play it safe, when you say, no, it's not time, the environment is not perfect, you can be prone to missing out on some opportunities. And here we have this Ace of Wands, which is this opportunity. And I get the feeling that this is something very passionate. This is something very creative. And this is maybe something kind of created by your alter ego. I don't know why I'm tapping in on somebody. Maybe this is something that's a little bit unexpected or out of the box. Like somebody who's spent their whole life dedicated to this one job, this one thing, this one place, this one group of people. And you probably wouldn't expect this kind of a thing from them. Sorry about that, guys. I have my Do Not Disturb on and it doesn't seem to be working right now. I'm looking at this Ace of Wands and directly underneath it, it says money. All my finances are now in divine order. Love itself knows my needs and is the source for all. I needn't cling to gain or fear loss. Every need will be met through offering all to the divine. And right here in the center, we have this Two of Pentacles, which symbolizes some sort of a choice, which tells me that you may have felt like you've been juggling two sides of yourself, two sides of your life. Maybe some of you are working hard at a secure job and yet burning the candle at both ends here, trying to also create this dream job, this entrepreneurial vision, this side hustle kind of thing. And I think that you know where your heart lies. I think you know what you like more. You know, if you had to choose, if I asked you, what do you love doing more, you would pick the Ace of Wands. But if I asked you, what is more important, you would probably choose the stability. And that comes from these fears. And the thing that you have to remember is that the universe always provides, but it's more willing to provide when you are in a vibration doing things from your heart. And I want to talk about this yod for a second because I don't want to wait until we get all over here, because it's really not just about the destiny. It's not about what's meant to happen. It's about the journey there. And it's about when do you decide that you're worth making the journey for. Now, almost all of these readings, the real true core of it was we can no longer dim our light or sell ourselves short, that our life has to be what we want it to be. Okay? 2020 was very dense. It was very heavy energy. And all of a sudden we move into all of this air energy. We're in all of this mutable Saturn-Uranus square. Like, change is inevitable. But so is fear. And which one are you going to let run the show? Because we can get stuck in a place of fear, and we can cling to the way that things have always been because it's familiar, even if it's not enjoyable, even if it isn't passionate or, inspiring. At least you know there's a paycheck. At least you know there's a roof over your head. At least you know you can manage and stay afloat. But is that really what life is all about? The 2021 is going to push you kind of to the edge, because it's going to make those things that keep you small kind of unbearable. And there's some pretty hard truths that you have to look at when you get to this Two of Pentacles, because what are you choosing and why? The decisions that you make in your life and the why you make them have to be a part of this process. Because the Ace of Wands is divine. It's a gift from the universe. It's like, you look at like a child prodigy or something, and then you listen to their backstory, and, maybe it's somebody that played piano, but the truth is something came into their life to get them to try it in the first place. And that's what that Ace of Wands is. And if there's something in your life that creates this passion, there's something in your life where you just lose yourself in this. What a sad place to be when it's something that you don't believe can create abundance. And I see this Two of Pentacles, and I see this person like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I know what I want. I don't know if I'm ready. And that's the whole point of the yacht anyways. Because if you look behind him, there's like these really rough waters, right? Like, this isn't an easy decision. This isn't an easy path. The path that you want to go down, the path of your true passion, isn't paved in gold. There are no guarantees. This is kind of like somebody very rooted in the material world, fearing the whole idea of becoming like that starving artist. Your environment is safe. You are ready. The environment is ready for you to make this change. And the thing that you're clinging to, card number 16, all that glitters. Breaking down to a 7, which is always my card of adjustments. You have to adjust your relationship to the fear. And you have to take a better look at your priorities. Because squirrel spirit, you probably have enough. Now, it may not be ideal, it may not be comfortable, but you probably have enough to make the investment. And even though it feels impulsive and maybe a little bit crazy, it's been something that you've been wanting for a long time. This isn't just something that showed up last week. Because I feel like this is deeply rooted in this desire and this knowing that this is the path that your soul is meant to go down. But anybody, if you know anybody with a yacht in their chart, the path is not easy. They have swords. The things in life that happen to you to kind of get you down this path may not be so pleasant. Now, I know this to be true of light workers, that you tend to have to deal with heartbreaks and disappointments, and you don't exactly live the easiest life. And that's exactly what's meant to be, because the alchemy of the process turns you from the student to the teacher. And then you are able to guide others through the darker times in life. Like, there's no school for light workers, really. There's no way to guide people through it. You sort of have to embody it. And for some of you, you may have really been playing it safe your whole life. And so this is a very strange thing to do, to start to embody this other part of self. And we have this All That Glitters card, and it talks to me about the way that we see our life as successful. Like, we all kind of grew up the same way, right? Like, we all kind of grew up knowing that as long as we had a nice house and a nice car and a good job title and that college education, those are the things that were going to make everything okay. As long as you had those things, it's the status symbols, the outward signs of success. But the truth is, these are the masks that we all wear. I think we all know those people that might seem like they have it all, wildly successful, have everything they could want and need. They can go out and buy whatever it is that they desire, but are they really happy? Are they really doing what they love? Are they fulfilled? And it's really important to understand the role of society and the changes that are happening now. And that at some point, this whole consumerism kind of thing, you can only feed the monster for so long before people start to realize that this isn't where my priorities should lie. Maybe it's not about the money, the fancy cars, the nice jewelry, the expensive clothing. There's something much deeper. And the Yad might be asking you to make some sacrifices. It might be asking you to see some people in your life for who and what they really are. And the truth is, if you are surrounded by people that are in this mode, if you took away those things, those signifiers of success, if you took away the fancy degree and the big house and the nice car, what would you be left with? Who would they be if they were stripped of all that? And are they somebody that you would align to? And are you somebody that you want to be? Who are you when you take all of those symbols of security from you? And over the next few years, Uranus and Taurus, especially this year, which is when this year is kind of the catalyst. So you've probably heard 1,000 astrologists tell you that you could definitely expect some major market changes. You can expect some sort of a pullback. And maybe there's a lot of you that are really getting pulled, by your soul. Yeah, but no, I really want to leave this job and I really want to do this thing. I really want to leave this job and I really just want to travel. I want to sell the house. I want to, buy an RV and travel the world. Suddenly, it's not really all about those status symbols anyways. So you have that epiphany, you have that awakening, and then here in your protagonist energy, we have this 9 of Pentacles, and we have this stranger, curiosity, and this is where things can get real interesting, and they could also get real weird. because I think there's a part of you that wants to do it on your own. You know, there's this call to your soul trying to get you to see that you can and will, you are capable. You have plenty. And this reading is all about like the abundance that you have. It may not be like the bank account. It may not show up in the type of car that you drive, but there is an abundance nonetheless. You are blessed. And when I see the Nine of Pentacles, I'm always drawn to the gratitude. Because it's not about having the things. It's about being grateful for the things that you have. And it's not about the desire for more. It's about the appreciation of what you have. And here we have a little bit of a mystery coming in. This is a card number 8. Stranger, the curiosity. And oftentimes this can trigger the fear. This is where there are no guarantees. This is where there is an opportunity for you to lose this Nine of Pentacles status, which means there's an opportunity for you to lose yourself a little bit. Your environment is Ace of Earth. Nowhere in this reading are there losses, and yet you're looking at this opportunity or this person or this thing that comes into your life that lines up with this Ace of Wands. It sparks your curiosity. It starts making you take this other path seriously. And the universe is pushing you towards your destiny, and you're wanting to stay here in the familiar, where you can control all of the things. And it's just simply not a time for control. Look, we can't dictate what's going to happen next. We can't grip onto the world and say, don't change, don't change, don't change. We are always a part of constant movement and change. We ourselves are like mentally programmed to evolve. And because of the technology, because of the information that is constantly at our fingertips, because of the new opportunities that come in. Like if you look back at maybe our parents, our grandparents, and our ancestors, like they had one person, right? Like one partner, one job they did their whole life. And we look at that and we're like, yeah, but that's so stable, and that's where that good stuff was. And part of that is true. But how happy were they? How aligned were they? Did those decisions just come from a place of fearing the curiosity? And I think there's something or someone coming into your life, an opportunity or a person that inspires you to start taking the steps towards the path of destiny. And for the outcome, right underneath this Yod card, right above it, we have the Five of Swords and we have the Eight of Pentacles. It's not going to be easy. There's going to be a lot of mental conflict. There's going to be a lot of you saying, am I good enough? Can I trust this? Is this leading me in the right direction? And I always say, like he's kind of looking behind him. And that's a lot about what this Mercury retrograde is doing, is looking behind you. And swords are clarity. And this kind of symbolizes you picking up all of the pieces of the actual clarity, all of the pieces of your actual truth. And then it's not about being the victim. It's about stepping away from that. It's about not allowing other people's thoughts, needs, and processes and opinions dictate how you are going to live your life. For some of you, there might be some sharp words. There might be some sharp communication. Some people saying to you, you're making the wrong choice. What you're doing is crazy. Because the truth is, when we change, we make a lot of people in our lives a little uncomfortable. And maybe this version of self, a lot of people relied on. They relied on you because you were dependable. You always showed up. You always did the things. Even if they didn't do their part, you did. And you kept it going. You're sorry, I could feel this Mercury retrograde already. You are an intricate part of the process. And so part of moving towards this path might be having to disappoint the people that need you to stay here and do this. Just keep your head down, just keep working, just keep doing the thing. Just keep thinking about the money and the finances and the reliability and the way that it always is. Saturn, you're in a square though. Not going to win. You won't be able to stay here because although this flow might serve some people, like your ability to understand the flow state, you have to love what you're doing in order to be in it. And the truth is you don't. You don't love what you're doing now. You don't love where you're at. You don't love what you're doing. And it brings you a lot of mental conflict. And it makes you feel very easy. And it could be very irritating. And the universe really needs you to be in this flow. And so ultimately the choice is your destiny. These are the things that you have to leave behind. Guys, I can't say it enough. When you love what you're doing, the universe will make it abundant. When you follow your purpose, when you follow the flow, when you follow what is meant for you, the universe will always provide. And the passion that you're meant, the spark that you're following is part of your destiny. Will it be easy? No. Is this a hard path to go down? Yes. It's going to irritate people. People aren't going to know what to do when you start changing. Because they're going to have to find somebody else to do this thing. But you're not going to have a choice. You will be pushed down this path. And so whether you want to put it off for 6 months or a year or until the market gets better or until you feel safer, until you've gained more knowledge, the truth of the matter is timing isn't really up to you. And the more you try to hold on to this, delay this from happening, the more conflict and misalignment you will feel. It's actually a really amazing reading. I think a lot of you are making some big life changes. And I think a lot of people are looking at the world and saying, wow, this doesn't make sense. And I want something different. Awesome reading, guys. All right, pile number 3, I'm going to leave it there. I do hope that you guys have a wonderful experience over the next couple months with this energy. I will be back for your June readings, of course. And until then, please take care. I wish you lots of love and the greatest success. Bye, guys.